Hi guys, Korean movie recap here. In the depths of a peaceful slumber, a girl lay restlessly, anxiously awaiting her phone. Her name is Eun-Ha. She is on her way to pick up a beaten-up car, a result of some mishap. At first, she might seem like your average girl with stunning green hair. But the truth is, Eun is a skillful driver. She works for a man named CEO Baek at an automobile scrapyard. Their primary job isn't just fixing old cars, but also delivering or transporting things that can't be sent through regular mail. Because their missions tend to be perilous, they've set high standards for anyone who wants to use their services. What's fascinating is that Eun has never failed a mission so far. One night, the CEO assigns Eun a mission. She needs to pick up two individuals from a hotel. When they first lay eyes on Eun, a young woman behind the wheel, the two men can't help but doubt whether she can safely transport them to their destination. They make their judgments solely based on appearances, unaware of Eun's exceptional driving skills. At first, they don't want to be driven by her. Time is running out, and in the end, they decide to ride along with Eun. Shortly thereafter, they realize that another car is relentlessly tailing them. Nevertheless, Eun remains undaunted. She speeds up and skillfully maneuvers to elude the pursuing vehicle. After successfully veering off the main road and quickly distancing themselves from the chase, Eun pulls off a daring drift between parked cars. Subsequently, she turns off the engine to lay low once she feels safe. With the coast clear, they resumed their journey. However, at a crossroads, they once again find themselves facing another vehicle. Once more, Eun employs the same tricks to outwit their pursuers. Only one car persists in chasing them. Spotting an oncoming train, Eun has a brilliant idea. She accelerates at full throttle, daringly cutting across the train tracks. Finally, they manage to shake off their pursuers, and Eun receives payment from her clients, besides her agreement with the CEO. In a factory, there's a man from India named Asif. He's an automotive expert who frequently finds himself embroiled in perilous missions. Meanwhile, in another corner of the world, rumors swirl about a scandal in the professional baseball realm. This scandal is tied to alleged game manipulation carried out by a gambling website. The person most suspected of involvement in this case is a TV host by the name of Dose. It's revealed that, for years, Dose has also been running a gambling site. Faced with this situation, Dose prepares to escape abroad with his son, Xian. They pay a broker named Jabang for counterfeit passports and access to the port to avoid arrest. Jabang also advises Dose to use a specialized courier service that will ensure their safety until they reach their destination. Meanwhile, news of this scandal has reached the ears of a gangster named Joe. In addition to being a gang boss, Joe is also a police officer. He's furious with Dose because it's known that Dose holds the key to a vault containing billions of dollars. The next day, the CEO entrusts Eun with a special mission. This mission involves picking up someone at the port. At first, when Eun learns that the person is Jabang, she hesitates. It's been widely known that Jabang has exploited and deceived them in the past. However, the CEO tempts Eun with a substantial payment, and she reluctantly agrees. Eun promises to take full responsibility for the delivery, but she makes it clear that any breach of their agreement will result in the mission's cancellation. On the other side, Music and his son, Xian, get wind of Joe's impending arrival. Do-shik, Xian's father, instructs his son to meet a courier and hand over a highly valuable safe key before leaving. Shik discreetly swaps his phone with Xian's smartwatch without informing him about the safe key. Joe subjects Shik to severe torture when he realizes that the safe key is with his son. Joe then orders his henchmen to track down Xian. When Xian sees that Eun is the one who's arrived, he initially hesitates to open the door. After all, they were supposed to meet Shik, not a girl like Eun. However, upon learning that Xian is being pursued by armed gang members, Eun ultimately agrees to help. Shik, as it turns out, is still alive and spots his son's car up ahead, alongside one from Joe. As they're on the verge of a collision, Shik suddenly blocks Joe's car, causing their vehicle to spin out of control. This incident further infuriates Joe, prompting him to order his trusted associates to assist them. Feeling safe, Eun parks her car in a garage. She remains silent, seemingly intent on leaving Xian behind, but Xian steadfastly follows her wherever she goes. Xian has nowhere else to turn, and Eun is his only hope. Reporting to the police isn't an option, as law enforcement has fallen under the control of the gangsters. Baffled, Eun makes a call to the CEO, discussing her chaotic mission. The CEO expresses disappointment and orders Eun to hand Xian over to a children's shelter. Eun reluctantly obeys and drops Xian off at the orphanage. However, her conscience gnaws at her, and she accidentally discovers a bag containing a substantial amount of money among Xian's belongings. She realizes that Xian is in danger. In the end, Eun decides to take Xian with her and protect him. Meanwhile, Joe and his accomplices are busy persuading other police officers about Dusha's death. They falsely accuse Eun of committing murder and kidnapping a DC child. Resolutely, Joe orders his officers to search for Eun. Eun takes Xian to a hotel because her usual residence is no longer safe, having been compromised by their adversaries. Joe sends his men to extract information from Go-bang, the only person who knows about Shik, his son, and Eun. Go-bang provides limited information, mentioning that Eun frequently changes cars and license plates when in danger. Joe instructs his henchmen to dig deeper into recent car thefts, suspecting that Eun has stolen a vehicle. After a prolonged search, Joe's henchmen finally locate the hotel where Eun is staying. With reluctance, the hotel staff aids them in reaching Eun's room. Upon entering, they find nothing. Eun has outsmarted them by booking a decoy room, anticipating the possibility of an ambush. When Joe arrives and grows suspicious of a hotel employee, he realizes it is Eun just as she is about to open fire. In a split second, Xian bites Joe's leg, and Eun seizes the opportunity to disarm Joe and escape. Joe, who's been struggling to find Eun, gets unexpected help from a special agent from the police force. On the other side, Eun confides in Asif about the situation. Meanwhile, Xian expresses a strong desire to reunite with his mother. Joe, finally locating Eun, orders his team to capture Eun at all costs. That night, Eun attempts to enter a bar suspected to be her mother's location. But when she confronts her mother, the mother denies any connection to Xian. She coldly disregards her own child, refusing to acknowledge Xian. As Eun prepares to leave, Joe's henchmen suddenly appear. They stealthily abduct Xian. Meanwhile, Eun faces a brutal attack by Joe's underlings. In a fierce showdown, Eun defeats them all. She then devises a clever plan, setting her jacket on fire to ignite a fire extinguisher, causing the vehicle carrying Xian to skid off the road. Even though Xian is found, they remain pursued by a car driven by Joe's subordinate. With Eun's exceptional driving skills, including some impressive drifting, they ultimately manage to escape. On the other hand, it turns out that the undercover agent who's been trying to assist John reveals that, based on the witnesses they've interviewed, Eun is not a kidnapper. The agent urges Joe to provide evidence that Eun is indeed a kidnapper. However, Joe unexpectedly ends the call, further raising suspicions about the spy. Elsewhere, Master the CEO is furious about Eun and her friend's actions. Nevertheless, what's done is done. He eventually relents, agreeing to create a passport for Xian to facilitate his escape from the country. Eun sends a photo of Xian for passport purposes and takes Xian to meet with the CEO. Here, Eun hands over $1 billion safe key to the CEO. Meanwhile, Joe hires thugs to capture Xian and Eun at their known location. The spy's subordinate stumbles upon evidence, including a recording of Joe killing Xian's father. This deepens the spy's suspicion about Joe. As the CEO is busy preparing the passport, Joe and his thugs suddenly arrive and launch an attack. Joe tortures and interrogates the CEO about Xian's whereabouts. The CEO tries to signal his subordinates through a hidden microphone. The CEO mentions that he knows about the sought-after safe key. However, when he reaches for it, he surprises everyone by grabbing a weapon instead. A gunshot from Joe ends the CEO's life. Joe instructs his henchmen to search for Xian after obtaining the safe key. As the showdown unfolds, Eun witnesses the rebellion and becomes infuriated. Especially when she sees the CEO killed. Armed with a screwdriver, she engages in a fierce battle against John and his henchmen, determined to rescue Hsien. But just when it seems like they might succeed, Eun spots Jun wielding a firearm, and Eun attempts to escape with Hsien. As Eun is on the verge of making her escape, Jo suddenly rams them with a car. At this moment, Jo tosses Hsien into the sea and shoots at Eun, but she fights to protect Hsien. However, Jo manages to handcuff Eun's leg to his, causing them to both sink into the depths. Sometime later, we see Sweet Sis and Hsien living a peaceful life. When Hsien is about to head home, it turns out that Eun is still alive. In a world filled with challenges and dangers, it's our actions and determination that define who we are and what we can achieve.